Gents, I just want to pause the episode for a moment to let you know about the Strong Men of Value Academy. You will have heard me refer to it a number of times, and I want to bring more attention to it. So this isn't just a program, it's a life-changing environment and community of men who are focused on personal and professional growth. We're looking at areas of relationships, wealth, and health, things to help you thrive and maximize your life. Imagine having bi-monthly one-on-one coaching sessions with myself, weekly group coaching calls, and an incredible brotherhood of high achievers by your side. Now we're diving into resilience, leadership, and holistic growth to not just succeed in your career, but to thrive in your health and your relationships. Your journey to greatness, it starts here. So join the movement and you can apply for the Strong Men of Value Academy. You can head to themanthatcanproject.com to find out more. I'm excited about today's episode, and you should be too. Today we have Joey Morris, who is a member of our Strong Men of Value Academy, coming on the show. And if I were to describe Joey, he is one of the most consistent men that I have met, and he keeps his word like no other. I've never seen someone who is so certain in himself and the decisions that he's making. He says no more than anyone I've met. He says yes more than anyone I've met. He shows up more than anyone that I have met. And I really am inspired by him. So I know you will all gain a heap of value from this conversation today. So we talk about Joey losing his father at 24. We talk about what shifted his perspective in life to improve who he is as an individual. We talk about the belief behind having and setting goals. We talk about so many other things that are hugely value adding to any man who should choose to learn the lesson and implement the lesson into their life. Now, gentlemen, the Strong Men of Value Academy, there is a number of people reaching out, wanting to get involved. And the reason why we have select intakes during the year is because mateship is a huge pillar within the academy. And rather than interrupting it every couple of days by throwing new people in there, having an intake and a set start date for new members is awesome, because everyone within our community and academy already can be prepared for it. And, it also creates a new flavor to the community as we add in, tens, if not hundreds more blokes into the community. So just keep an eye out for the wait list to be open. It will be opening within the next 7 days. So you can put your name down there. You will get a little something to tie you over for the next couple of weeks. But then you'll be first to get a message when the applications open. So you can check that out on the Man That Can Project. But just head over to the website, themanthatcanproject.com, and have a look at the Strong Men of Value Academy. Have a look at the online breakthrough experience, which you can start today if you don't want to wait that long, because that will be hugely helpful for you to get that in before starting the academy. You'll have a greater understanding of some of the things that we discuss and get you to implement. So enjoy that episode. Remember, gents, I already said in the intro, but please, whatever you're listening to this on, make sure you hit that follow button. Many of you out there are listening, but you aren't following. And if you hit the follow button, you won't ever miss an episode. And we've got some cracking guests coming up, much like today with Joey. Let's enjoy. The Man That Can Project podcast, a podcast empowering career-driven men to live more fulfilling lives. We are here to challenge your beliefs, redefine success, and talk about the important stuff in a relatable way. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. My name's Lachie, Stuart. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Man That Can Project, guys. The podcast. And today, Joey Morris is joining us. It's going to be an incredible conversation. And for those who aren't watching YouTube, who are actually just listening, whether you're driving, you're at work, or you're even sitting on the toilet, I've heard people do that. Listen to the podcast.
Whatever you got to do, mate. Whatever you do to maximise your time. There's only 24 hours in a day, so
the toilet works for you. We're going to make the next hour or so very amazing for you. But we're sitting on a very narrow couch, and I didn't want to make you feel uncomfortable because I am paying in the studio. So I was like, this would be the next best spot, surely. And well, here we are. As you said, we don't know whether to face each other, face the camera, or cross a leg. If you want to cross a leg, you can cross a leg.
I'll just cross on my leg, not on yours. So.
It might be a beautiful thing. How you going anyway?
Yeah, I'm good. It's 2022. It's a bit shocking, but it's off to a good start.
Mate,
so
it's the end of January already, which is insane how fast it's gone. It's hard to think about, but we're at the end of what's Friday? What are we? My watch is flat as well. That's how good my day's going. It's the 28th, right?
Yeah, it is. It is
Friday the 28th, and we're at the tail end of doing 5Ks a day. And your watch is telling you need 44 hours of recovery before you should train again. 44
hours of recovery, and that's considering I did the last 5Ks at 6 a.m. this morning. So I've already had a full day recovery on top of that. So yeah, it was a challenge, that's for sure.
I'll give everyone some context. We wanted to help everyone build resilience, but also see what you can fit in if you're more intentional with your time. And even me, I found it quite a pain in the ass, to be honest. But that's the whole point. It wouldn't have been a worthwhile task had it just been able to fit into your life easy. But you've been doing your traditional your training on top of that as well.
Yeah, correct. So yeah, still trying to get 3 weight sessions in a week, yoga, 1 class. So whatever that might be, it was the Monster Metcon down at Punctual Newstead on Australia morning, which was killer. Yep. After running 10K. So Tuesday I ran 10Ks because that's my normal program. So I was like, instead of running 5, I'll just run the 10 on Tuesday. And then at the Metcon on Wednesday morning, it was probably only about a 200-meter run, but then 20 kettlebell squats. And that was part of the ANRAP, and probably about 10 in. Yep. I just felt my quads. I'm like, oh, God, this isn't supposed to be this tough. And looked down, and it's about 5 minutes in, and there's about 30 minutes left. It's a good mental challenge. Well, we first met, your wife actually reached out to me originally, just being like, I'm looking for a program for my, we weren't married then, but my partner then. And I was like, sweet, I got the perfect one for him. And we started doing some training together and everything like that. But I've learned so much from you, and the reason why I wanted to sort of get you on the show is there's so much that I feel so many people can learn about you, about loyalty, commitment, and just being so certain in your decision making. I take away so much of that, and I observe you in our group. But just even when we chat, it's like the easiest way to describe it is like when you think about a man of your word, you're a man of your word. It's like you don't even have to say, oh, I'll get back to you if you know what to know. A lot of people do that. I'm guilty of doing that. You're just like, nah, I can't do it. Yeah, it's something I think. Oh, thanks for that. Thanks for the kind words. No worries. But I think when you're saying like being sure of yourself or a man of your word, it all comes back to confidence. Yep. That's something that I've really tried to develop sort of actively over the last few years. Because I know when I was younger, like when I say younger, I mean even into my early 20s, like it's something I really struggled with, like being sure of myself. So I knew growing up as a kid, I was always different. And then it's not until the last couple of years that I've realised that's not a bad thing. Yeah. Everyone's different. Like for me, God made everyone different on purpose. Yep. Like you don't want to be the same as anyone else. So it's interesting that we feel like we all need to be like, maybe it's people that we're marketed on TV like sports stars or even just to fit in at school. If you're not, you may have been picked on. I used to get picked on. And so there was that longing to want to fit in. Mm-hmm. And even if that was at the expense of who I really was or what I enjoyed doing. And that's the reason why I do what I do, is really because I want to help people. And it's, the ripple effect of what you do and how you show up on a daily basis is as a result of that as well. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think, as you said, like it is just wanting to fit in. Like obviously humans are a pack animal as such. Everyone wants to be liked. Yep. So it's, a perfect saying of when I used to do things that I necessarily didn't want to do, looking back on it, like, oh, why did I do that? I didn't want to do it. It's almost like I love to be loved but hate to be hated. Whereas now it's like, no, I'm going to be myself, and people can either deal with that and appreciate me for who I am, or they don't. It's no skin off my nose. Like there's 7 billion people in the world, they're not all going to like you. No, exactly. Like, and they need a handful. I only need about 5. What was it for you that, you said a couple of years ago was when you first really started to work on building your confidence, or maybe that was when you identified that you need to build your confidence. Was there a specific thing that popped up for you that made you go, fuck, I can live my life at the effect of everyone else and trying to be loved by everyone and not hated by anyone? Yeah. Or I can,
build my own confidence.
I think the biggest thing for me that sort of changed my perspective on who I am as a person is when my father passed away. So I lost my dad when I was 24, and it's like the old saying, you don't know what you've got until it's gone. And I don't want to sort of say that about my father, because I hold on to so many memories, but I know being older now, like I'm 29 next month. And you talk to my wife about starting a family and everything like that, you realise what
it's exciting times, bro.
Yeah, not there's a few years to come. Not straight away. So a few more years, but you start to think about like what my father, when he was in the same position, what he would have went through and the sacrifices he would have made for his family. And as we've talked about, being comfortable, I guess, in your own skin. Like, it's something that's always stuck with me, that I remember when I was doing nippers, because my dad competed in surf lifesaving. Like he passed away when he was 62. He probably competed in masters up until he was 60 years old. Like he was, he was a
frother.
Yeah, he was. Probably awesome. Probably looked like me. When he was 61. Or pretty much up until the day he passed away. So. He was a unit.
You got some good genes then too.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully I'll look like that when I'm 60. Who knows? Anyway, so to backtrack. What he said to me, I would have been 10 or something at the time, and it didn't stick with me then. But it was after nippers, and he could see that I wasn't enjoying it, or wasn't happy. And he said to me, he's like, if you don't want to be here, you don't have to be. And for me, that was like an amazing, like, I was like, what, really? And he's like...
And it was in a way that you felt like he was, because how people might throw off a comment like that. And it's almost like a spiteful.
No. It was a loving, genuine, it was a loving, And then I was like, really? And it's like, of course, it's the sport that I love. So it would mean a lot to me if you enjoyed it as well. But if you don't, like, there's nothing, like, just... If you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. I was like, okay, Dad, I hate it. I don't want to do it. Like,
just straight away, just crush him.
But pretty much. So, but even that, as I said, as a 10-year-old, that didn't mean, like, that didn't stick in my memory. But as I think back on it more and more, it's like all he wanted, he loved us for who we were, and he just wants us to be comfortable in our own skin. So I think that's probably the moment that I actually sat back and thought about and said, why am I trying to be something I'm not, in a way? And why am I doing things to please others? So.
It's a question a lot of people maybe consider, but don't really spend a lot of time actually thinking about, and thinking about the flip side of that, like what life could be like if they do go down the path that you've gone down, where it's like, well, I am going to be comfortable in myself, and I'm going to hang around people that I love and do things that I love, rather than try and sort of balance it out and do things just for the sake of doing it.
And I think sort of realising that, as I kept on saying, when I was 24, it allows me to look back on my life and think about the things that I actually did. And it's like, why that wasn't for me, or I was just pretending to be someone else. Like for example, for me, rugby's always been a big part of my life, and sports a massive part. I love I can talk to anyone about any sport.
Super rugby champions there.
That's it, 2011. That's it. Repeat this year. So no, I can talk to anyone about any sport. So for me, growing up, so I went to I played rugby at school, and when I was in year 11, I was selected in the second 15, but also in the first 15. So for anyone listening or watching who doesn't sort of understand rugby, first of all, sort your life out and understand rugby. So rugby, the top team, it doesn't matter if it's a club or a school, the top team has 15 players who start. There's then 8 players who can sit on the bench as replacements. But those 8 usually play for the second team. And it's a ripple effect all the way down. So for in my position, I played a full game for the second 15 and then played the last 10, 20 minutes for the first 15. So, and it's, yes, you want to strive and achieve more, but it comes back to knowing who you are and being proud of where you are. So that year I was so I still had a year to go at school at that stage. So I was in year 11, and I won the second 15 player of the year. But when they read it out at the awards night, I was like, I didn't even want to get up and get the award because I didn't consider myself a second 15 player, even though I was captain of the team as well. Yeah. So I was like, oh, I'm in the first 15.
Yeah.
That year I also...
Did you feel like you were above the second 15 or what was
it?
Yeah,
I think so. I think you're a product of that environment or wanting to be someone else. Like, you didn't want to associate because, like what it's like at school. If you're in the first 15, you're treated like a rock star. And then when you're out of school for about 2 years, you realise that it's not. Yeah,
it's fucking blimp at the yeah.
Correct. So, and it's funny because that same year I won Sunshine Coast referee of the year.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not a referee, I'm a rugby player. Even though, like...
It's funny how we think, and we spoke about this, we've been throwing this around a bit in the group recently, but like what we are, we attach it to like what we do, not actually who we are. And that's why so many people don't actually know who they are or what they enjoy. So if you are, and for those who are listening, is like, if you were to just sit there and go, who am I, and not be able to answer it, well, that's what you need to spend the next however long figuring that out. Yeah. Whereas, you're very confident in who you are. And even when you posted in one of the groups, said, I want to be an awesome husband and
a
father. Yeah. And I was like, well, what does that look like to you? And what does being that look like at the moment? You're like, well, at the moment it's patience or something. And I was like,
and that's like patience on my end. I need to develop. I'm quite impatient. I like everything straight away. Yeah, but it's even like, obviously when I am a father, I do need to.
Maybe that's what it'll teach you.
Yeah, it will. But it's even being patient, waiting. Like even before we started recording this, we're just talking about going through. Hopefully, fingers crossed, get having a new house built, and it's going to take 12 months. Whereas I know, because we've gone through all the paperwork, I want to move in tomorrow. Yeah, it's like, well, I've got to be patient and wait for the place to be built. So
it's interesting. Like we're always hoping for that next thing, though. Like we get in that mindset because we're like, oh, I can, If you think about anything that you want right now, like the house, for example, you're probably already considering what furniture you're going to do, the memories that you're going to create in that, right? Because, maybe your family home when you were younger, even the memories with your dad, you've got all this stuff that you lived, but it also means that we're missing out on right now, all the wait until you get to move into the house. Like how amazing can it be in the lead up?
It's even with, I think it's very, like even with goal setting, like, it's what you want to be, not what you are right now. Like I think some people need to definitely, obviously I believe you should have goals and strive to be better, but also be proud of who you are today and what you can achieve in this next 24 hours and even look back on it and say, look what I've achieved so far for my case, my 28 years.
We need to be content, I guess, but it's like appreciate who you are because we're doing the best that we can with the information that we have and the experiences that we have. But every single one of us has stuff that we can work and develop on. Like you think about what we get taught at school, a lot of it isn't very practical for life. No. So but then when we start living life, we have the option to just do what most people are doing, or we can say, hey, I want to actually start learning about finances. I want to start learning how to learn about who I am as an individual, or I can start learning how to communicate better or be a better husband, different to what everyone else around me is doing. And in being as you said, when you learn to be patient, when you have a child and become a father, your relationship's going to change and you got to keep learning.
Correct.
Otherwise you become a resentful old bastard.
Yeah. Which I don't think anyone wants to be.
But that's that whole mindset of understanding, who I am right now is I fucking love who I am and you love who you are. But tomorrow I'm going to, accept an area of my life that I can improve upon and not judge myself for it, but just be like, this is awesome because it's like the new iPhone every year. I'm excited by it. Like the camera's a little bit better and that's all I want.
I've got the new one and I don't realise it. I don't know what the difference is about 12, but I still lined up in store and bought it. So.
Yeah. We have the same cases.
That's it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Great minds think alike.
Correct.
What was it like for you losing your dad? Like, are you comfortable talking about that?
Yeah, that's fine.
What was that like for you at like a young age? Because my dad, I can't remember whether I've told you guys, but he had prostate cancer, had his prostate out like 3 weeks ago or something. And that was like the first time for me, I was always like, Dad's just like invincible. That's how I've always thought of him. And then as they're starting to get older, I'm like, fuck, you're starting to see like, neglect in health because he didn't look after his health as well, and then having cancer, like fuck, like It's pretty daunting.
I think so my dad passed away from pancreatic cancer.
Yep.
It was very fast acting. So I still remember he was away doing a cruise through the Panama Canal. So when I was doing a cruise, he was on a yacht going through the Panama Canal. And it was the morning he got back, I was supposed to have breakfast with mum and dad because you're flying into Brisbane Airport.
Yep.
And then mum rang me. It's like, I've just picked up dad from the airport. He's like, he wants to come to lunch, but he's got a massive stomach ache. He's not coming to lunch.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, for like him. And my dad was tough as nails. Like I've seen him building a house, fall off the roof, and just stand up and go back on the house and keep on working. Keep on working. Yeah. So I was like, okay, it must be pretty bad. And then the next day she rang me. She's like, oh, he's not getting any better, so we've taken him into hospital. He was in hospital for I think 2 or 3 days. Went home for a day, still didn't get any better, and then went back to hospital. And he would have been like, I don't know exactly how long he was in hospital, but it would have been a month at most until he passed away, if not weeks. Like it was so fast. It was very aggressive. Very aggressive cancer.
Had he had any like warning signs or anything before?
No.
Because I said this to Dad, like, and I used to pride myself on not going to the doctor. I hadn't been for 10 years. Literally the last time until I went to get the COVID jab was before I lived in France. And I've always been like fucking tough as nails, I was never sick. And then I look at Dad has that same mentality. And at our wedding, he had to go to hospital because he couldn't piss. And one day he's like, no, I'll just get through the next wedding. We were obviously drinking a heap of beer as well. So the doctor's like, it's a good thing that you drank a heap of beer because this brought up this problem and brought you into here. And then he had to get a catheter put in and sent, after the wedding so he could actually not be in pain. But then Tuesday back, it's like, prostate cancer. And you're like, fuck, like, it's so important to get your health checked and stop trying to be a fucking tough bastard.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And I think back to your first question, my emotions, it was like once we knew it was pancreatic cancer and our only hope was chemo, but then we knew his body wasn't like if we tried to go through chemo, the chemo would have killed him rather than the cancer. Yep. So once you knew his days were limited and he was going to pass away, it turned into, it's a mix of emotions. First of all, it was sort of resentment. Like I remember towards just, I guess, not one person in particular, but just life. Like walking out of the hospital and seeing people who are on on a drip out the front and they're smoking, and it's like, well, he hasn't smoked a day in his life, so why do you get to live, but my dad's got to die? Yep. Like, and then like even like waking up in the morning, like, what am I going to cook for breakfast today? Or what Mum asks, what do you want for breakfast? It's like, why does it matter? Like, we're all going to die one day. Like, why does it matter what I have for breakfast? Like, I don't care. Yeah. So it was a mix. It was resentment, sorrow, just trying to enjoy. You knew you still had a few days left with him. So I remember one of the funniest actually memories from the hospital. Hospitals are pretty miserable places, but one of the funniest memories, it was because he passed away in June. So the Wallabies were playing in Brisbane the first test of the year, which they do, and he obviously knew in the back of his head that we go to the first test every year. So we put it on his TV in the hospital, and he sits up and he like gets out of bed. So he's hooked up to all his machines. Yeah. Getting out of bed, trying to get his bag down, and we're like, Jeff, what are you doing? So I never called him Dad. I always called him Jeff.
Why is that?
I don't. It's just it's what is. Sorry, my sisters I think called him Dad, but myself and my brother just always called him Jeff. I'm not. Yeah, right. Don't know why. Don't know why. So.
Did he ever ask you to call him Dad, or you just? Yeah, right.
So, anyway, he was trying to get his bag down. I'm like, Jeff, what are you doing? He's like, we've got to go to the rugby or else we're going to be late. It's like, and that's just him to a T. Like he was selfless. Like he would do anything to make the people who he loved happy. Yeah. So. And
how was it for you then? Like, are you at peace with it, or did you become at peace with it during that or after it? Was it?
I think it took a while after it. So it took I tried to sort of run away with it. Like I went on a holiday with my girlfriend at the time, which that relationship ended, which we might get into, we might not. We'll see where we go. that relationship actually taught me a lot. But anyway, we just went away to New Zealand, and I was like, I don't want to be like, I don't want people asking me how I am. Like, how do you think I am?
Yeah, just fucking let me.
So I tried to run away with it, and then when I came back, I went to a psychologist.
Yep.
So the psychologist was for issues with the relationship, but also with my dad.
Yep.
The psychologist sort of didn't press, but brought up about my dad passing away. So that's the first time I sort of.
So it's all sort of interconnected in a way.
Yeah. It was all sort of happening at the same time, and that's probably the best thing I've probably ever done, is seeing a psychologist.
Yep.
I didn't want to do it at the start.
Why didn't you want to do it?
I think it's just a stigma, like, I don't need help, I'll be fine. Like, why do I need to talk to someone who doesn't know me, doesn't know my family?
Yeah. Sometimes it's literally just talking. Like,
it is.
I even listen to you now, I'm just learning, and like, it's putting stuff into perspective for me, and sometimes just being able to talk and articulate what you're thinking. You're like, fuck, I've been holding it. Yeah.
So the first session with the psychologist, and I grew up in Caloundra, but I grew up not in Caloundra not being the size it is now. Like, everyone knew who I was or knew my family. So that's part of the reason of going to New Zealand. Like, I knew if I walked down the main street, if I saw 10 people, 6 or 7 of them probably knew who I was and who my dad was. Yep. So I was like, I don't want to deal with that. Alone, and the psychologist said, like, he's like, I'm aware of who you are and who your family are. So if you want to see someone else, you can. I was like, it's fine with me. I've never met you. Or if you got some background knowledge, I guess it's all going to come out. It's all going to come out anyway. So, and he was like, he said to me, the psychologist, he's like, I actually am surprised that on your paper you haven't listed about your dad passing away at all. And I was like, I'm not really here for that. He's like, okay, what are you here for? I was like, issues I'm having with my relationship. And the issues were sexual issues, like connecting sexually and actually being able to have sex. And he's like, okay, tell me a bit about that. And then I explained to him the issue I had with getting and maintaining an erection, and that my girlfriend lived in Moree, so she lived a 6-hour drive away. And he's like, you're finishing work on a Friday, driving 6 hours, thinking about when you get there, you've got a girlfriend who you want to be intimate with, but you're thinking that you can't. I was like, yeah, pretty much. He's like, no wonder you have issues.
He just brains
he's like, and that's the first person who actually explained it. It's like, well,
it's like a symptom of an actual.
Yeah, he's like, no wonder.
Yeah,
and it turns out like that the issue is a medical issue, that I have scar tissue in my old fella. So it's nothing to do with me, about how I perceived that I wasn't worthy. Like, I'm not a man. I can't have sex, essentially. Like, it's just like it's like people wake up in the morning, take vitamins. I wake up and take a medicine to not build up the scar tissue. So
thanks for sharing that as well, because there's fucking. It's such like anything around sexual health is like people like feel really uncomfortable about it, but it's like all blokes have a dick, women have a vagina, and everything in between, right? Like, we're fucking humans. So in order for us to understand things, like understand that, because imagine if you hadn't have...
If I hadn't done that, I'll probably still be...
Yeah, your life would be so different.
I'll probably... it would be. I definitely wouldn't be where I am now. I could still be in that relationship, probably living in northern New South Wales, hating myself, blaming part of that on my partner. Yeah, or I'll probably be by myself in Brisbane.
Yep.
Angry at everyone else because I don't want to face up to my issues.
Sorry. Yeah. It's purely based on a lot of people in their lives. When we do start to see problems arise, and we think of, like, we're always addressing the symptom, right? Like, a lot of people who, I'll use myself for a lot of people, use alcohol or pornography. We've had that chat on the group about pornography, but so many things, and it's a symptom that we're trying to cover up. It's like, oh, fucking alcohol made me do this. And it's like, all right, but why are you consuming or over-consuming, binging with alcohol?
Yeah, which is like, even for me, I don't drink, or I drink very limited amount of alcohol.
I keep seeing you eyeing off the scotch. I'm not drinking either at the moment, so... take it.
No. It's all good. We'll save it.
Yeah.
And it's not like I don't particularly like the taste of beer, which is what you drink, right? When you
when you grow up in
Queensland,
the fucking footy player.
So I didn't particularly like the taste of beer, but I drank when I was younger because it's what everyone else does, and it's that, as you said, that overconsumption or binging that. It's another thing that I wouldn't like about myself because alcohol is a depressant. So it's usually when I'm like, oh, why did it do that? I'm not worthy. I'm a bad person. But it's probably when I'm hungover. And it's like, well, when I was, starting to become confident in myself and be like, well, I don't want to drink because I don't feel good for it. Like it doesn't add value to my life in any way.
And if confidence is something you want to build, why would you have a depressant or something that is going to make you foggy and cloudy? Like one of my biggest frustrations in life is when I speak to a lot of people, as we all do. Everyone speaks to people, and people confide in you from time to time, right? And I can just, based around the context of their life that I know around, poor diet or consuming alcohol, and they're wanting to build confidence or they're wanting to learn to love themselves or whatever it is. I'm like, awesome. That's great news that you want to do that. Here's what we need to do in order to do that. In order to change something, and if you've tipped the scales, if you're at a point where you fucking hate yourself or you're heavily overweight, you can't just go straight to balance. You have to flip the needle just to gain some momentum and build some new habits. Otherwise, you're going to easily be swayed back. And so when these people go back and I'll see on their Instagram on the weekend, they're drinking alcohol or eating shit food again, I'm like, God, what are you doing? Like, you aren't serious about building your confidence. And to me, it's like, well, what's the trade-off, right? Like, if your life has been shit for X amount of years because you're overweight once again, or you're unhappy or you're depressed or whatever it is, taking 1 to 2 years to change your environment, cut alcohol out, eat really well, exercise more, maybe in the short term it seems like a big deal, but if it gives you the next 50, 60 years of quality of life where you're confident and you love yourself and you know who you are, isn't that worth it?
Correct. And that's the thing for me, like as I said, drinking alcohol, and we're just using this as one example, didn't add any value to my life. I used to think it did when I went out and drank every weekend. Yeah. But like now I'm happy to, if I go out to a nice restaurant with Mal and they've got like a mango flavoured beer, I'll try it. Like it sounds interesting, I'll try it. Or if a mate's like, if I meet up with a mate and he's like, oh, I really want a beer, like I'll have one. I'll have one with him or two with him. But I'm not going out partying. And it's, as I said, because for me personally, it doesn't add anything to my life. And that's where it comes back to that certainty you have in who you are and being confident enough to say that, because once again, there's many people want to not be able to drink. I think about every January how common that conversation is, or they have a big argument with their partner, and then the next day they're like, I need to make it up, and I'm sorry, I'm off the piss. And then come Friday comes around and their mate's like, you want to go for a bevo? Yeah, I'll go for a bevo. It's with New Year's resolutions. I listened to a podcast and they were talking about New Year's resolutions. The three most common ones are not drinking, something to do with fitness, and something to do with finances. And they said the day that the most New Year's resolutions fail is the Friday of the first day back at work. Because you either go out on a drink, you spend something like oh, I've made it through the first week, I'll buy myself a new pair of shoes, whatever it is, or it's I've been to the gym for 4 days in a row, I don't want to go to that. It's just like people, and this is probably comes back to you being honest with yourself and deciding what you want to do with your life, and obviously even your dad having that conversation with you. When you can be honest with what you want, and then build support systems around that, you're going to have a much better quality of life. Yeah. And I think it's obviously you have to be honest with yourself. If you're not honest with yourself, I don't think you can be genuinely honest with anyone else. But as you said, building that support system, that's really important as well. And that's something that like Mallory, my wife, she's amazing with that. Yeah. Like we do this thing, and we actually got it off Jay Shetty's podcast. She loves. She listens to. I listen to every now and again. He's on Calm now. Yeah, meditation app. Yeah, okay. Have they got Matthew McConaughey on there yet? Yeah, he does a bedtime story. He's amazing. But Jay Shetty does a daily episode now, which is Wake Up with Jay. Yeah, it's awesome. Really good. So she listened to it, this particular thing, when she was on a walk. Yep. And it was I'm not as I said, I love sport, but I'm not a massive basketball fan. I'll put that there as
Why not?
I don't know, just nothing I've never really gotten into.
Fair enough.
So, but I believe that he was talking to the GM of the Chicago Bulls, or it could have been the Toronto. Anyway, or it could have been Toronto, but it was a team that wasn't very good, but now they're successful.
Yep.
And he was talking to this man, and he was saying a story of how he came home to his wife, and his wife's like, why are you so upset?
Yeah.
And he said, honey, did you not hear the boos from the stadium? She's like, I didn't even need the TV on to hear those boos. So she's like, okay, you're aware of what happened in the game. She's like, yeah, I know you lost. I was like, well, you asked me what's wrong. That's what's wrong. And she just said, I can't do this. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, I can't have people external to our relationship impacting our relationship.
Yeah.
And Mel came home. It was like she had a light bulb moment. She's like, just sit and listen to this. So I listened to it, and I was like, is that it? She's like, yeah. I was like, okay, what? She's like, that's us. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, every time.
The Reds.
Well, the Reds, the Wallabies, Collingwood, whoever it is.
You support some pretty challenged teams at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we've done the whole week talking about resilience. So yeah, you've got to have resilience to be a Red supporter. But anyway, she was saying, you let these things impact our relationship or impact your mood. She said, sorry, not our relationship. I was like, yeah, well, no one likes to lose. People who say that winning doesn't matter clearly never won. So that's why they're saying it. And then I thought about it. I was like, yeah, she's right. I'm letting people who, or for one, don't know me, and if I really think about it, probably don't really care about how I feel, impacting the way I am, and in turn, that's impacting the people who are closest to me. So my wife, my family, my friends.
Yep.
So, and also we do once a week. It's another thing from Jay Shetty. We sit down and we talk about what have you done well this week?
Yep.
What's the challenge this week, and how can I help?
I love it.
And that's the biggest thing. Like talking about being confident and being open with yourself. It's also being open with others. Like the person closest to you, you probably never ask them for help.
Yeah.
You probably ask them, "Oh, can you hang that washing out for me?" Or
I'm thinking about that right now.
Yeah. But you never actually generally ask them for help. Like I know for this week. Knowing that I had to prioritise to get this challenge done, do the 5Ks in 5 days. For me, it was Mel said, hey, okay, how can I help? I said, like, when you come home from work and I say I want to go to the gym, it's not because I don't want to know about your day. It's not that I want to get out of the house. It's just that I value exercise as an outlet. And I want to get this done. And I've committed to doing this challenge. So I'm going to do it. But I also want to go to the gym to do my weight training.
Yeah.
So.
Fuck, that's a great tip. So what were those questions again? What's going well for you?
What's going well? What's one challenge you'll have this week?
Yep.
And how can I help?
I love that.
Yeah. It's
partnership.
It is. Because it's just listening without judgment and being vulnerable to them.
Yeah.
Because you think about it, and it doesn't matter if it's your wife, your girlfriend, whoever you live with, your husband, whatever it might be, the person closest to you who should be your biggest support. When you've actually said, you know what, this is how you can actually help me this week.
Far out. That's giving me something to think about later on, because I never asked for help from Amy. I've always been, and it's funny. So I was down at the coast but earlier doing a podcast, and this guy pulled me up on so much shit, and then got me to do this this gene. I can't remember what it is exactly, but it, like, you put in your birth date, your time, and it just gives back this stuff, and it works out like your shadow. So what, like, and it was to a T. And I'm not into like fucking star signs or any of that sort of stuff, but this was literally to a T, and it highlighted all the things that I am aware of and currently looking to work on, and also things. It pointed out, like, in my relationship, like, I want to do everything myself and everything like that. And I was like, fuck. And I've just got like this big ego, not ego even, or more almost like I'm trying to prove something to, whether it's to myself or everyone else, that I can do it by myself. But that's not a partnership, right? That's not a relationship.
Yeah. And I think it feeds back to something that I've really tried to implement this year that I've struggled with in past years is trying to do too much or be too many, still be too many things.
Yep.
And I've told this to you, like it's one of my favourite quotes. It's better to be consistently good than occasionally great. It's like, okay, let's like doing like whatever it might be, like what can I do and be consistently good at it rather than being occasionally great.
Exactly.
Like what's the point of running if I go out tomorrow? Okay, I'm going to smash out a half marathon, run further than I've ever run before.
Yep.
If I can't move for the next 4 days,
yeah,
there's no point. Like, how about you be consistently good at running 5Ks 3 times a week?
And I guess that's what happens when people set resos or New Year's resolutions, or goals or whatever. Is we have an outcome in mind, and the excitement gets behind it because you're actually taking some. You're taking that first action step to do it, so it starts becoming real. And then people will go, I'm not going to worry about where I'm carrying that. Let's just think about getting there and skip a few steps. And they'll start, use 6-week challenges or diets or any of that sort of stuff. People start extremely intense and it becomes too much after 5 days or 6 days that they fall off the wagon, and then it's like, damn it. But they, I guess the worst part from all of these experiences is and I was saying this on the call this morning, we should be failing. Like we should be trying new ways to improve ourselves and learn things. That's what this whole challenge was about. And if you fail, that's completely fine. But just use it as feedback. What do you need to tidy up? What do you need to improve upon? Because that's what, next time Bretto, this last year he failed, quote unquote, the challenge after 3 days, but he learned a lot and he came back in a different mindset with a different attitude, different intensity even. He was looking for consistency, not intensity, to approach this challenge, and he succeeded.
Yeah, correct. And you talk about failure. Like, I fail every day. Like something as simple as being at work, having a to-do list.
Yep.
How many days do I get everything done? Probably once a year, like realistically. Like, and that's feedback. Okay, I tried to do too much, or okay, I spent too much for me focusing on this client when it was actually going nowhere, when I should actually just move on.
Like, it's working out those high priority and low priority. And I think this is where you were saying, like, you committed to doing less this year or not overcommitting. Yeah. I do consistently good rather than occasionally great. And I try to be great at everything. Yeah. And I'm starting to work it out in more areas of my life because I have stuff scattered across the board. But even with the podcast, for example, this year I've decided it's like I want to ramp it up and do it properly. So I used to jam like 5 or 6 podcasts in one day. So therefore I didn't have the time to research people too well. I didn't have the time to get my head right or rest or eat. And I was pumping them out, but my energy behind them or my intent was fucking terrible. Whereas now it's like Friday's a day where I'll do 2, but I've got a full day to do it. And then I can get everything else done. And I'm starting to learn more that I've outsourced a whole heap of stuff, but I just want to sit and think. Like whoever affords himself time to just sit and think. And if you haven't tried it, try it for a while. Like it's pretty fucking good. Like you can learn so much about yourself, what you want to do, what's challenging you, what's actually going on in your own life. Yeah.
Even myself, I've just this week changed up my morning routine. I'm massive into. What is your morning routine? I've actually changed it. It's very slimmed down because it's something that I can be consistently good at.
All right. So what was it before?
Before it was wake up, 15 minutes of yoga, pray, journal for 15 minutes.
Yep. Can you talk to me about the praying? So, like, have you always been religious, or is it something that's come into your life?
It's something that I've struggled with to be confident with. Like I've got no. I
love, man, when I see you post a story about it because I just love people who are so fucking genuine and proud to be who they are.
I've got no mates my age who believe in God.
Yep.
Or not openly, I should say. They might do, but not openly. Not that I'm aware in Brisbane anyway. Yep. So I've always been religious.
Yep.
Again, not being confident in who I am.
Yep.
It's something I tried to hide. But I always believe that I believe in God, and I believe the second coming is it's coming. Like there's when I pass away.
So what's the second? Can you hit me?
So
with that? I have no idea.
God is going to come again to judge the living and the dead. Yep. Now they're going to be in heaven or you're not. So I believe that when I pass away, there's a place for me in heaven for eternal life. Yep. So
I think even someone who's not religious, I still think that's awesome. Not awesome's not the right word, but I think having a belief that brings out the best in you is something that I think is the greatest thing. Because I believe in I still haven't ever really, people say source or God or, there's a couple of religions. But I think the greatest thing as an observer, not a participant in religion, is more so the fact that it really just brings out the best in people. And I've watched religion on YouTube, because I just want to understand it. It's, there's like 2.5 billion people are Christians, I think it is. That's a lot of 7 billion people on the planet. So 1/3 essentially.
Yeah, correct.
Believe in one specific religion, right? So they're doing something right to influence people to have faith in something for a greater good.
And I mean, it's the same. It's the same for me. I can chat with my mates or people I don't know who might not be Catholic like I am.
Yep.
And ultimately, as I said, I believe in Jesus. So I guess at the root of that, I believe that they're wrong.
Yep.
But I'll still have a conversation with them or listen to them because they believe in something just like I do. There's nothing I can do to show them. I can't ring up Jesus and be like, tell them that you're real.
Yeah.
It's all about faith.
Yeah.
So, and my family aren't religious or aren't openly religious.
So how'd you become religious then? I guess if it's not, was it a circle of influence or?
I first became religious at school.
Yep.
It just obviously you do Bible studies or religious studies, whatever school calls it, and it's just it's always sort of been at the back of my at the back of my life, and it's just sort of come to the fore in the last sort of four or 5 years, and even when I was at university, I went to a church, and then didn't go to a church then because obviously at university I'm early 20s, so you can go to a youth church. Whereas if I went there now, I'd be the oldest there by almost 10 years. A little bit creepy. But, Mal and I go to church. We like to say every week, but when we can, when life allows it, or when our schedule allows it. And Mal, she's the same. She was brought she's never been baptized. She got baptized last year, actually.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And she just said to me openly, she's like, "You're religious." I'm like, "Yeah." So she said, "Do you want when we have a kid, or if we have a kid, do you want them to be baptized?"
Yep.
And I was like, "Yeah, I would." What are your thoughts on that?
Yep.
She said, that's fine, but before I essentially force my kid into something, I want to get a better understanding, so I want to come to church as well.
Yeah. So she never went to church prior. Yeah, right.
No. And even
awesome.
even our wedding, we didn't have a Bible verse or anything. We had very simple weddings.
Man,
it's not.
I think that I love that, mate. I think it's so cool just to witness just hear how you guys are so supportive and understanding of each other. And one of my favorite, from 7 habits of highly effective people, is seek to understand before being understood. And I feel, everyone's an expert in something that we're not. So even me learning about religion, like I said, I don't know a great deal, and I'm always curious as to why people believe in certain things. And I couldn't give a shit as long as it's doing good for you and it's doing greater good for the world, then I'm all for it.
If it's benefiting you and not harming anyone else, go for it.
And I always think that when you meet people who believe in something bigger than themselves, and I think this is why when people have families, it's all of a sudden you've got to start thinking of something bigger than yourself. It's a survival and growth of the family. But if you've got God to believe in, or whatever else people believe in bigger than themselves, it sort of empowers you to want to be better, because in order for you to be confident to talk about your religious beliefs, you had to do some work to get there, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, people who maybe don't believe in anything and, just let life pass them by, there's no reason for them to want to get better. In order to be able to stand tall and talk about something that they truly believe in, even if it's, COVID, people are talking about vax, anti-vax. It's like, I just choose not to get involved in any of it. But if you believe in something and it's encouraging you to get better at communicating or listen to other people's opinions, fucking good. But as soon as you become a twat about it, that's when I don't want to hear from you. Sort of thing.
Correct. Yeah. When you're, and I shouldn't because obviously I want everyone to believe in Jesus. But when you're trying to influence someone or put someone else down because they don't believe the same as you, well,
it's not going to work.
You've sort of lost your mind. Like,
builds resentment. And that's the
correct.
old way of leadership, right? Is to lead through fear and pressure and stuff like that. And people haven't responded well to that. People, the reason why people follow Gandhi or Jesus is because they did it they walked their walk.
Yeah.
Walked their talk. Sorry.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry to segue back.
Yeah, to circle back
to the morning routine.
Essentially it was I was just trying to do way too much.
Yep.
Considering I like to work out at 6 a.m. every morning as well. So I was doing a whole lot in that 1 hour before before I go to gym. Whereas now there's a lot more time for me to take my time and actually check in with how I'm feeling for the day. So now it's essentially, or this week, 5 minutes of, I wouldn't even class it as yoga, just moving, doing like cat cows, down, up dog, down dog, that sort of thing. Meditation, I used to be like, okay, I have to meditate for 15 minutes, even though I can't sit still for about a minute. Yeah, I get sore knees. I'm like, oh, this isn't good. So now
the yoga's not paying off.
yeah, exactly. Now I have a podcast to listen to that's called Pray the Word that goes for 3, 4, 5 minutes. Just a Bible verse. But it's read in a meditative way. Yeah, right. So I put that on when I'm meditating. So I still do my breath work, like whether I'm doing Wim Hof or just box breathing. I'll do that, but while listening to that, so it kills 2 birds with 1 stone. And then I'll have something quick to eat. Like at the moment, I'm having crumpets with honey and
How
banana.
Good are crumpets, bro.
They're underrated,
mate. They're massively underrated.
The same with hot cross buns.
I got some the other day, right? And I walked into the house. Everyone's like, hot cross buns. I was like, yep, I've done well. And then I put them on the counter, and they're like, you fucked up. They're gluten free or
that's why they were left.
Yeah, and I was like, I didn't even read. I just assumed hot cross buns were hot cross buns.
What's your thoughts on fruitless hot cross buns?
I'll eat them. Like if I can butter them up, but I like the fruit.
Yeah. It's just fruitless hot cross buns shouldn't exist. It's like smooth peanut butter.
Can you find them Can you get hot cross buns with peanut butter?
No. I'm saying fruitless hot cross buns are like smooth peanut butter. They shouldn't exist.
No. You're right. Crunchy peanut butter is a duck's nuts. That's for sure. But I think I just like the fruity bit. But especially when you just warm them up, bit of butter on them.
One thing that Mal's found, scrolling through Instagram, is hot cross bun, 2 squares of Cadbury caramel milk.
Stop it.
In the air fryer for about 2 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Might have to try that tonight.
It's good.
I'm going to go home with proper hot cross buns, and I love. I'm a massive fan of caramel.
Yeah, and anyway, back to morning routine. Then I have something to eat.
But this is all a part of it, right?
Yeah, correct. And then I go to the gym. So I leave like filling out my 12-week game plan, journaling. Any reading I want to do that morning, I leave that to after I exercise. Yep.
Can you just actually, probably worthwhile sharing like what you look to gain from doing some of those things? Because I think, for those who look into morning routines, and I know even for me, there's so many things that you can jam into a morning. And I think that I've often done a whole heap of stuff and I've lost the intention behind why I'm doing it. And then it becomes like, rather than gaining something from it, giving something to my morning, it becomes a fucking another job that I don't even like getting up early to do my morning routine anymore.
Yeah, that's where I realized when I was struggling, I was trying to get too much into it. It's like your morning routine should set you up for the day. Like you should feel comfortable going in the day ahead. I was trying to get too much in that I felt on edge because it's like, I haven't done this, where I've got a full day at work and then I've got to do something tonight, so I'm not going to get it done. Yep. It's like, well, what's the point of doing it?
Feel defeated already.
If your morning routine is making yourself a coffee and drinking it, and that makes you feel good, that's enough. Like
that little chair out there is where I do it.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
So, for me, for my morning routine, I use it just to, I guess it's time by myself just to clear my head for the day. And look at obviously what I've got coming up, but even just check in. Like we spoke about the questions asked Mal, like what's going well, what's a challenge, and how can I help? I almost use that, not those same things, but very similar, almost to check in with myself. Okay, this is what I want to achieve today. This is what I'm going to struggle with. Okay, so how do I make that easier? That's particularly when I'm journaling or filling in my game plan. Like what do I need to do to achieve what I actually want out of the day.
Yeah.
Like, what's my intention? What's my intention for the day, and what things I'm actually going to do, like
to achieve that.
Yeah. If my intention for the day is to, I'd say it's something super simple. Like, my intention for the day, this is probably the worst example, is to win $20 on the races, but I don't have what I have to do in the day is actually watch the races.
Yeah.
It's like, well, they're not going to add up. Like,
yeah, that's where people. Yeah, once again, people say the biggest one. Like, every day, my 3 tasks. So yeah, is one's like work related, one is health related, and one is relationship related.
Yeah.
Because currently they're priorities in my life. If I just went 3 career focused ones, I'd probably push training off, or I would come home without have been intentional with how I want to show up to Amy, or even, call a mate, or various things like that. So I could not give a shit. Like, even if I'm super busy, I'm like, that's the most important thing. If I get that done in my business today, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I'm in the to-do list at work, there's a few things, but next most important things, I have to train. Have to. Yeah. This is what I'm doing. If I push that off because a meeting's more important, I've just put myself second. And then thirdly, relationship. Like, it's as you've spoken about and spoken about really well, it's like you've got to put the effort into the relationship to keep it.
Yeah. Even my goals, like I have weekly goals. I have obviously a 3-month goal, and then I have a year goal. They all relate back to this. They're all linked and all relate back to the same thing. There's 3 of them. One's work, one's personal, and then one's relationships.
Simple.
Yeah.
And that's everything's connected. And when people go, I don't know where I want to be in 12 months' time. Well, take however long you need to think about it. Like, and work that out. Don't just keep going, I'll get to it, or I don't have time to think about that now, because what you're going to find yourself, or where you're going to find yourself, is 10 years down the track, and life's going to have passed you by. You're probably going to have done a lot of stuff that you fucking don't enjoy. Your life's not going to be fulfilling. And all you needed to do 10 years ago was just slow down a little bit and afford yourself some time to think and answer some questions.
Yeah. I think that all comes back to what we mentioned at the top, like setting goals, or it all comes back to being confident, comfortable with yourself and what you actually can achieve. Like, don't go from spending money every weekend to, all right, this week this year I'm going to save 50K when I only get paid 80K a year. It's like, well, have you looked at your expenses?
Yeah.
Like, is that even possible? Like,
people, why do you feel people don't take the time to do that?
I think it comes down to pressure, or wanting to be someone else. Well, that's definitely my experience, is wanting to be something else than what you are. Like, not being like, okay, I have to be this because society tells me so. Like, I have to meditate every morning for an hour because The Rock and Mark Wahlberg do it. It's like, well, that's fine. That works for them. We don't live the same life.
Yeah, so. Exactly. 100%. 100%. It's definitely something that's interesting to think about. And once again, and like, as life changes for all of us, for me, I don't wake up every day just going, I'm fucking, because I've been confident once, or I love myself today, doesn't mean I'm guaranteed that tomorrow or the next day. So what do you do to sort of help yourself maintain confidence?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a very good question.
Yeah.
I think it's knowing.
I'm asking for a friend.
Yeah. I think it's knowing, knowing what you've achieved and what you're capable of. Like, it's not like me sitting here saying, I'm confident and comfortable myself, doesn't mean I'm going to smash everything. Like, I believe I'm capable of doing a lot, but it's not that I won't ever have a negative thought in my mind. It's when you feed into those negative thoughts, I'm like, you know what, I can't do this. It's more, if it's something you generally can't, like, okay, I tried too much. That I tried to go to the moon, but I only landed on the stars. Sort of thing. Like,
still good.
Yeah, it's still good. But what if I try that again? A bit like Bretto with his running 10Ks, which is an absolutely amazing effort. I don't know how he's done it.
He's a weapon.
So, but it's like, okay, I've tried it once. What didn't work that first time, or can I change? Did I try and do too much?
And that's, I think, another really important thing to establish is when we're talking about confidence, we don't have the self-awareness to understand the difference between self-esteem, which is how we value ourselves, or self-worth, let's put those two together, and self-confidence, right? So, or just confidence in general as people use it. Like confidence is generally linked to self-worth. So what has to happen, or what do I need to think about in order to value myself or see myself as worthy? And for a lot of us, we're looking for external validation. We're looking for status. We're looking for money. We're looking for cars, all these things that we don't necessarily always have control over. Like I could say, for example, with the podcast app, I've done 70 episodes. I should be earning a heap of money from this now. I don't even monetize the thing.
You should be Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I should. I should be, actually. So I need to write to Spotify. But nothing in life's guaranteed. But people are doing things in the hope that something's guaranteed. And where I think we're going wrong and what we need to start focusing on is the process of doing it and what has to happen for me to be comfortable and confident in myself right now, because who I am right now is enough. And as I spoke about in the beginning of it, it's like we're doing the best that we can with the information that we have. And I'm good enough right fucking now. Like if there's certain things that I have highlighted in my life that I would like to improve upon, completely okay. No judgment. I'm not a fucking piece of shit. I just am going to work on that. And that's how I've completely transformed my life. It's how you've transformed your life. But then we look at confidence in the form of skill set, as you sort of spoke about. Like when I started doing the podcast, for example, I didn't know that you needed all this equipment and I didn't know how to ask questions. I didn't speak well. Even now I'm learning stuff. It's like, so I wouldn't have said I was very confident. And because of repetition and learning and gaining feedback and just actually doing it and being persistent with it, I'm now more confident in doing it. If someone said, hey, can you help me start a podcast? I'd be like, sure, easy. Yeah. And so everything that you do that's new, you're not going to be confident in.
No.
Just understand the process of building confidence as you spoke about.
Correct. And like even don't be afraid to try something new because you feel like you're going to fail. I know this is something I've said to you, you being my trainer, like when I was away for work in Cairns, like I do a big part of my program is Olympic lifting, which I absolutely love.
Shred Lord.
But it's like I was away in Cairns and I was like, I know I want to get a workout done like at some point in my day. Yep. So I was like, I found this gym. It's a free trial, which is a win. Like, I'm not paying $20. Like I'll go for a run if I can't get in for free, but I wanted to shift some tin. And I walk in and it's a CrossFit gym. Like, oh, fuck. I've never done CrossFit before in my life, but actually really enjoyed it. Whereas like having the confidence knowing, okay, I'm not going to smash it. I'm not going to know if he says, okay, we're going to do clean and press. I'm like, I don't even know what that means, mate.
I can't spell that, let alone do it.
Yeah, correct. So, but having the confidence that, hey, it's something new. I'm not going to be good at it. Yep. I might hate it, but I might enjoy it.
I think it brings it back to just looking at then backing yourself that you'll be capable of learning it, or backing yourself that you'll be comfortable with the feedback that you receive should you not do it the way it's properly done. Correct. Right? And not beat yourself up for that.
And I think for me as well, again, I was away with work. So it's like, if I don't enjoy it and I make an absolute fool of myself, I'm never going to see these people again.
Unless you get situated there.
Yeah, well, I go there every 3 months. So, but or even if I do see them again and they have a perception of me because they couldn't do something, who cares? Like their opinion doesn't matter. So why am I letting that affect me?
Very good point. Very good point. I've got one last question for you because this time's flown, even though my watch isn't working.
It has, mate. We're 4:35, so
it's been fun.
It has been
really flow. But what does it mean to be a man?
I knew this question was coming. Doesn't make you any more prepared to answer.
No, it's always like the pressure that gets you.
Yeah,
you feel perceived pressure,
and it's even like, again, talking about faith. It's like there's no right or wrong answer for this. It's your own perception. Yep. So for me, being a man is standing by the choices you make. So if you make the choice to, if we use drinking as an example, if you make the choice to not drink, that's fine. Stand by it. If you make the choice to go out and have a skinful of beer, that's fine as well. If it's what you want to do, that's fine. But be prepared to stand by that decision and live by the consequences that come with it.
I like it. So I bloody love it. Mate, thank you so much for coming on. It's been...
No worries, thanks for having me.
It's been awesome. It's the first official recorded podcast on this couch. and it's been very intimate. I thought for a moment there as your hand was creeping closer. It's like I remember the first dates back in the day at school where your hand's like creeping because you're so nervous, and then it happened, but then you pulled away. So it's all good. Maybe in the second one, we'll do a second one.
Maybe when we're more comfortable.
Yeah,
mate.
It'll be awesome. But thank you for your time, bro.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Man That Can Project podcast. My name is Lachie Stuart, and I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful. If you did, please take a moment to rate and review the Man That Can Project on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with our newest episodes. We'll see you again next time.